Morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you, Red Hat, for allowing me the opportunity to present today. This slide's going to be a little bit different, or this talk's going to be a little bit different. And the reason is we're a partner now, but we didn't start out as a partner. And we started as a customer. And of course, our journey is a unique one. We didn't just see Red Hat and go, yes, we like what they're selling, we want to proceed and we want to drive forward. It was a journey. We had some ups and downs, we had a few little bumps. And today, I want to just sort of take you through that first to give you an understanding of the importance of partnerships and how that plays into the entire ecosystem and how you as partners can actually drive revenue, and then talk a little bit about what we're doing now as a partner with Red Hat. I love this slide, right? Organizations today have you hear everything. You hear digital transformation, edge computing, IoT, cost control. Right? This is almost like the mantra for any sort of C-level person that has to go to the board. How do I save money? How do I do more? How do I change this? About 2.5 years ago, I was brought into STT Connect. We're a private cloud company, and our traditional business has always been in the data center and the CMT space, the communications, media, and technology. And the remit was, we want you to build a private cloud. We want to have a cloud that all of our investee companies can use. We want to have a cloud that we can go to market with. And it was like, fantastic. I love this. I took the job thinking, I'm about to walk into a greenfield organization. Any technologist, this is like nirvana. It's like, yes, I get greenfields. I can design it from the ground up. Well, that dream lasted, I think, about 45 minutes. Because when I got in, it was like, oh, it's private cloud, so we think it should be VMware. And it's like, okay. And then, of course, one of our investee companies said, actually, we like a Huawei. We think it should be a Huawei. We want to use FusionSphere and all of their offering. And, of course, you have several other opinions of everyone coming in and saying, we think it should be this, we think it should be that. So the first thing that I had to do was, just pick one stake to drive in the ground and say, this is what I have to have. And do you know what it was? The one thing that I had to sit there and had to stake the ground was it needed to be open source and open standards. That was it. That was the only sort of stake that I could drive in the ground, and I got consensus at the board level to say, okay. So the great thing was that removed my obstacles with VMware, and we were now down to a Huawei. And as we started this journey and we were looking at their products, we started to find that they'd sort of deviate a little bit from the main branch with OpenStack, and the level of automation wasn't what we wanted. So this was where we had our first engagement with Red Hat, and I'm sure most of you know Siva. He was the first person that came into our office. Lovely guy. Has his opinions. Me and him have had many and many arguments over that over the years. And we decided that CloudForms could actually do that. And as we started going through this journey, we encountered issue upon issue upon issue. And this wasn't with CloudForms, this was with the fact that the APIs had changed, the ports had changed, nothing was standard. And of course, as we went through, we're moving towards a pilot, so that the structure that Phil showed before about the sales process, 100% important. The discovery is important, and you have to do a pilot. Don't go into a POC. So of course, we're now down to about 96 hours before we have to go to pilot. Product's not working. Great thing is I have an amazing team of engineers. Before I jumped on a plane from the US to fly back to Singapore, I said, find me an alternative. Right? When I get back tomorrow, I want a cloud that we can stand up and we can have ready for a pilot on Monday. This was actually just before Valentine's Day. So I'd been away for a couple of weeks, I landed, and they said, my head of engineering is an expert in Ubuntu. So when I landed, he goes, we're going to deploy Ubuntu. They have Mass, they have Juju, we can do this, we can set it up. So we all sort of worked in a house, we got this up about 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, Valentine's Day. I did the one problem to go, and I said, guys, I've got to go to lunch with my wife, otherwise I'm going to be divorced again, and she's never going to speak to me. And I'd been away for a few weeks, so she really wasn't happy with me. I quickly went out for lunch, come back about 2 o'clock, and they're like, we've solved it, it works. You're like, thank you, this is great. We went through the pilot, and it worked beautiful. Very happy with it. At this stage, we weren't using CloudForms. We'd said to Red Hat, thank you for your advice. But as we start to go through this, you start to encounter problems. And I'll give it to Red Hat, right? And I'll give it to the partners that we've worked with during this whole process. They are relentless. They were always, always there. And when we had a problem, it wasn't just, oh no, sorry, that's Ubuntu, or no, that's not us. It was about the open source. It was about the community. It was about making the product and the whole community better. So of course, we got through all of this. I think I had a lot more hair back then as well, but it seems to be getting less. And then of course, we got the cloud up. And by the way, I love this picture. I'll talk about it in a little bit. We got it up, we went through the pilot, customers were happy, everyone was great. We were, into day 2 operations mode, which, by the way, is a hell of a lot harder than day 1. So, we were running this, we were doing upgrades, we were making changes. Our investee companies were happy, and what do they say? We want you to be MTCS certified. And for those that don't know, it's the multi-tier cloud security standard, and in Singapore there are 3 tiers. Tier 1 is, well, I just want a development environment to play around in. It doesn't mean anything. Tier 3, right at the top, it is very tough. And the standard's called SS584. And I didn't quite realise that that actually means there's 584 control measures in that document. Big document, by the way. And you have to have 100% compliance to every single one of them. So, start reading through this document. First thing it says, hardware, software has to be EAL4 certified, meets common criteria. We quickly look. Ubuntu is not certified. Some of the hardware we had was not certified. Then we started to take a different approach going, who's certified? And at this point, Red Hat come back in, because it's like, we're certified. We have EAL4, we actually have standards up to here. So, it was like, okay, so we've got a cloud, it's running OpenStack, it's running Ubuntu, and at this stage, by the way, we'd had issues with things like, Juju, if you want to change it, it's very heavy on code. So it's like, right, time to go Red Hat. Time to go Red Hat OpenStack, let's do this. We acquired the hardware, we put it in there. And we actually went through that process, Phil said, with the Red Hat consulting team. And remember, this is open source. I have very smart engineers. I've got an amazing team that sort of backs me up and makes me look good. So I get a chance to do what Frank said and be the chief talking officer. As we were going through this, we had our problems, right? But the great thing was we're talking open source. If it doesn't do what I want, I can change it. I can write plugins for this, which we've done. So we're using Big Switch for our SDN, we're using Ceph for the underlying storage, and of course we're using Red Hat OpenStack. By the way, we just went from 10 to 13 last night, so the team did the fast forward upgrade, no issues at all. So extremely happy about that. Damien, thank you. Actually, I was quite worried about that. I'm just sitting there looking at my messages thinking, please, please, just make it work. So we've actually done that in production and no issues at all. So fast forward does work. We're now on OSP 13, which now means that we can start to roll out at a more rapid rate what we're doing with OpenShift for containers. And, the product's there and it's working and it's doing an amazing job. And when we started this, wherever you have developers, wherever you have engineers who actually have embraced the open source, Kingsley actually made a statement just before we come in here, which I really liked, was, they're only your customer for an hour. And he was just, referring to this subscription type model. And if you're using open source, there's nothing locking you in for 3 to 5 years. You haven't made a large investment in proprietary software. If you don't keep delivering and don't keep adding value, people will move on. And, I see this firsthand every single day. Red Hat has to keep reinventing itself. They have to keep adding value, and they do an amazing job at that. All right? So, we've rolled this out. Everything's gone well. We've got our certification. And by the way, this certification standard was not written for open source. This was written for products such as VMware. So, of course, prior to this, I wrote 3 things on my whiteboard, or actually the whiteboard in our main area. Number 1 was automation. Number 2 was security. Number 3 was performance. And I said, these are the only rules that we actually have whilst we're doing any of our projects. And you get people saying, well, why isn't security number 1? Why isn't performance number 1? What's automation got to do with this? Automation is paramount, right? We're a very, very heavy user of Ansible. We actually got around several issues with the certification standard by using Ansible, right? there are things such as, you need to have multiple levels of approval to create a project in OpenStack if you're to meet Tier 3 certification. Well, this is all self-service. If I want to create users, I can create users. If engineers want to create projects, they can create projects. We have an API, we can do this like that. But the certification didn't allow that. So you're there going, what can I do to solve this? So we used Ansible. We've actually put all of this into Ansible. Ansible doesn't have a workflow engine per se where you can have multiple levels of approval, but through some creativity, tenants or projects are created, users are created, it all goes into our Slack channel. One of us just goes, yep, that's fine, and we release a second step task which sends out the communications and the notifications. Ansible has made engineering life easy. And for partners, you need to work with your customers to talk about how automation can make their life easier. We have hundreds of compute nodes, and as we start to get larger and larger and move into different markets around Asia, automation's going to become even more important. So, after we deployed all of this, we decided we actually like Red Hat. They've been there for us, they helped us along our journey, and we decided maybe we should be a partner. Right? Maybe we want to offer RHEL images, we want to start to take advantage of the ecosystem, we want to actually be able to offer this to to customers to go forward. So we signed up, we become a CCSP partner, signed up to the Red Hat Learning subscription. All of us went through all of the training, including myself. My guys wouldn't become certified engineers and proceeding to architects unless I did it. So very hard. Love the training, by the way, and it truly does add value. So the resources and the effort you put into your staff is critical, and the technical knowledge is important. So a little bit about us now as a partner. We build private clouds. Right? All of our clouds are based on OSP 13 now, so we've moved to there. We're initially starting in Singapore, but we're moving into all of the Asian markets, and we're looking at the emerging markets. We seem to be following Damien's career as to where we go. Right? He keeps changing, we keep changing. Damien, go global. Right? We have a data center business. We run all of these in Tier 3 data centers. We have embraced everything open. We're using Big Switch for our SDN, as I said, OpenStack, Ceph. And this is all around the flexibility and the agility. We need to be able to change quickly. Our customers come to us and say, I want this, and if it's not there, we have to build it. And that's really what it is. I love the little bridge. Right? When we started this, we thought, single tenant, really easy, we can go and sell this. As you start talking to customers, people think OpenStack, especially from an enterprise perspective, is it. OpenStack does have a large management overhead. You've got a multitude of offerings to solve this, and this is where the discovery is important. Right? You need to understand what the driving forces are to make a customer want to go forward. Right? We've had customers who have started with the mindset of, I want OpenStack. OpenStack will address all of my needs. What they really need is just virtualization. Right? Again, if you put the wrong product or the wrong technology into a customer's site, you're going to damage the relationship with that customer for a long time. Right. With this, we've extended our offerings now. This is truly a multi-cloud environment. No customer's just going to go to a single cloud and stay there. There are 3 reasons why any business goes to a cloud, and every single use case you have can be tied back to these 3. First one is geographic. Right? If I want to move into a new geography, the fastest way for me to go there is to go to a cloud provider. The other is that services that are offered in one geography may not be offered in another geography. The second reason is diversity. Right? We've all seen large-scale outages from cloud providers. Even on-prem, we've all encountered this. You need to have your applications spread across multiple environments. You need to have a diverse infrastructure. And again, as we're starting to move further up the stack into platform as a service, going to serverless architecture, we need to make sure that we don't lock ourselves in. Right? If you go to AWS and you lock yourself into Lambda, well, you're in that entire ecosystem. You have no other flexibility. The third one is innovation. And innovation is the one that we're really focusing on, because all of us have worked in an enterprise of some sort, and we all know that the first word, or the only word that people in operations know, is no, right? I want a new data cube, no. I want an environment where I can test things, no, right? I think it's the only word you have to learn to go into operations, no, right? Consulting is yes, but operations is no. So, how do we get around this? Cloud, right? I'm responsible for operations. I have SLAs, I have KPIs, we all have these. When someone comes in and says, can you just spin this up or can you just do this? You've got to look at it and think, well, I don't want to be the blocker. I don't want the business to sort of a sudden start taking out their credit card and going somewhere else. So you have to allow them that flexibility. And that's where cloud comes into it. Because I can say, go to the cloud, right? Here's a credit card, go there, don't spend too much money, and if you need a hand, someone will help you. And if it works and it's successful, then I'm a hero. If it doesn't work, well, I can hide that because it's only a small amount of money and no one knows, right? But if I did that in my operations, in my production environment, and it caused an issue, then I'm in serious trouble. But the reason why we go to a cloud platform or any platform is not the reason why we stay there, right? We may go to an Azure, an AWS, preferably you'll come to our cloud, but regulatory requirements, other reasons kick in, and for that, we have to move. And this is where the flexibility is important, and this is where open plays an important role. Okay, before we go on, a quick little poll. We all know how to use this. We'll grab our mobile phones out, and you'll get about 15 seconds. I'm curious, what challenges do you as partners or as a business face today? A, B, or C? I think the music stops. Oh. Wow. Okay, that's a little bit different. So I was actually thinking that number 1 would actually have the highest, followed by number 3, followed by number 2. Okay, very interesting results. Look, let's look at these. Customer demand, right? It is right, and this is where we, from a partnership perspective, it's actually a really good segue into my next little bit, is customers are becoming more demanding, right? Everything's about growth. The great thing is open source, to me, is the great equalizer. It allows any business of any size to actually, to launch a product, to scale into a new market, to grow. And as they get to a certain point and they start going for Series A, Series B funding, this is, of course, when, from a partner perspective, you move them onto an enterprise support agreement. Because if you're going to invest money in them, you want to make sure that they actually have the engineering support behind this. Right? Sorry, can we go back to the thing? Thank you. Lower profit margins, of course, that always makes sense, and of course, standing out in an increasing crowded marketplace. Let's talk about how, where's my slide? STT Connect can help. So, STT, for those that don't know, is Singapore Technologies Telemedia, and within that, we are a sovereign fund, or in Singapore, you have Temasek and ST Telemedia, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Singapore. ST Telemedia is an actual investment company and makes a large number of investments. And in that, we have things such as the global data center business, which has data centers in Singapore, India, China with an investment in GDS, and of course in the UK with Vertus acquisition. But we've also made a number of investments in the technology space. And when you look at the cloud today and you start talking around infrastructure as a service and we move to platform as a service, everyone's familiar with the shared responsibility matrix, right? Basically, it's an empty shell of a cloud, right? I'll give it to you and I'll expect you to do everything, right? We understand that. I've been in this business for a long time, but we're looking at how do we make the experience better for the customer at the end, right? We want to make sure that the platform that goes into it is able to be protected. So we're looking at breaking the mold of the shared responsibility matrix. So when you go into there, you have all of the analytics capabilities from a security perspective, right? Any virtual machine, any container, anything that you deploy in there is protected, right? We have an investment with a company called Armor, which we have integrated into our solution. And what that does is that allows, a large data lake of information. So as any traffic's coming in and out of your environment, you've got people watching this 24/7 who will tell you there's an issue, right? As a platform provider, this makes my life easier because, we all have to spend a lot of money to protect the platform. The problem is security is only as good as the weakest link. If our customers, your customers, are actually using a cloud and they're not protected, the ramifications for that are great. So we've baked this into the solution. We're also using AI Ops from a company called Moogsoft that looks at all of the issues that are going on in a platform, and it really does help do root cause analysis. Right? So this is basically service assurance. Right? Anyone that's ever done operations knows that you get one issue and you can end up having 1,000, 10,000 logs, and how you find that and fix that is a problem. We also partner with Microsoft for that from a licensing perspective, and of course Datamir is one of our analytics companies. But with this, our whole business has been built around partnerships and around platforms and building that, and that's what we've really got here. A little bit of an overview of where we are and why this is, as a partner, how I'd like to work with, yourselves here. As I've said, we're based in Singapore at the moment, and we've actually got a cloud platform in multiple locations. We're now targeting the emerging markets to go out to there. So, my request is, if you're in any area around Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, Philippines, come and talk to me, right? We want to go into these markets. We're a pure play cloud provider. We're not in the business of doing managed services. We're not in the business of doing consulting. We're in the business of providing a platform, right? And we want to work with partners in each of these locations to actually help us expand into that, right? And the reason we're targeting the emerging markets is because this is where the big cloud providers aren't, right? We have a reseller agreement, we have an affiliate agreement, and we'd love to talk to you about this. Right. On that, I'll finish a few minutes early. We believe in an open cloud, right? We believe that open source and open standards is the only way for a business to succeed. We don't want to lock our customers, and we don't want to lock our partners into a platform that doesn't give them the freedom to move and to change as their business requirements evolve, right? Partners in our business, partners in Red Hat's business, and partners in general around the open source community are the most important thing. And this is why, our business is growing. This is why Red Hat's business is growing exponentially, because, we want to do what's right for the customer. And as a customer former and a partner now, this has been has been demonstrated by Red Hat to us on many, many occasions, right? We use all of their products now. We use IDM, we use OpenStack, OpenShift, Ansible, Zeph. I think we have several more as well. I'd have to actually get out my purchase order, but it's a long list. I know they want it to be longer, but it is great, and it does make our life very, very easy. My email's there. I'm here all day. Anyone has any questions, more than happy to have a chat to you. And again, Red Hat, thank you very much for the opportunity.